Our next guest is a veritable institution in this city. As a popular radio host on CBC, author, playwright, he has occupied a seemingly inseparable place in the cultural life of our city. He has been so identified with Vancouver and the urban, yet recently he's been drawn away. Something other than the urban is calling him. Please welcome Bill Richardson.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks very much. If you tweet about this, and you will, I only answer to #supersexy. I'm going to tell you a little story about folly, about the trouble you can get into when you say yes. When, in 1993, I published a book called The Bachelor Brothers, Bed and Breakfast. It's about a B&B where people go to read books they've never made time for in their lives. It's a place that's off the grid, off the map. It's a place where people go to recreate. It's run by two bachelor brothers, Hector and Virgil, and I didn't know when I was writing it that I was committing an act of prophecy. 19 years later, in 2012, my father, Stan, became ill. He had lost mobility, he had lost his memory, he moved into care. And I moved to Winnipeg to be with him. He was sad, I was sad, Esther was sad, and it was very cold. I bought a car. I hadn't had a car since 1993 when The Bachelor Brothers was published. It's a 1993 Volvo, and one day I got in that car and I drove. I drove west, following the usual signs, to the rural municipality of Turtle Mountain and the village of Holmfield, population 14. There, the end of the rainbow. And that's the Harrison Mill, which has been there for a very, very long time. You see the grain elevator there. The mill is behind the, they produce Prairie Girl flour there. Across from the mill, at the corner of Railway and Mary, I know that now, but I didn't then because although the streets are named, there are no signs identifying them. This house was for sale. That's my dog Alice, she's now dead. I looked to the west, I liked what I saw. I looked to the east, I liked what I saw. I looked to the south, I liked what I saw. I looked to the north, I liked what I saw. Esther was thrilled. I bought the house. What really moved me to buy the house was the mourning doves. Boo, 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 boo. It was the soundtrack of my childhood. I hadn't heard them for 35 years. And when I stepped from the car in Holmfield on that day, a place that I went to really not knowing where I was going, just needing to drive, I simply fell in love. I felt like I was in a place where gravity was stronger. This is the garden of that house. And this is the Campanello di Holmfield, as I call it. It's it's a little bell tower, and it's at the end of what is now my property. It is, in fact, one of 3 remaining brick bank vaults in the province of Manitoba. The Bank of Toronto, which eventually became Toronto Dominion, once stood there. It burned in 1919, and the vault remained. It eventually became a bell tower, and the person who put the bell onto the bank vault was Jack Kerr. Now, Jack Kerr used to live in the house that I bought, and that house used to be the hotel in Holmfield. It was the Arlington Hotel. This building is next to my house. I bought that too. It was the hardware store. So now I own a hotel and a hardware store in a place called Holmfield. I am an urban homosexual who cannot be 50 miles from a major ballet company, and suddenly I find myself in a place, population 14. What is this, Green Acres? The hardware store, the hardware store, the hardware store, Southern Exposure. The hardware store, the interior. The hardware store, the interior, that's about 20 years of the Brandon Sun. The hardware store once it's cleared out. When you buy a place, you buy the property, you buy the house, but you buy the stories as well. And what I bought was a story of Jack Kerr, who owned the house, and Neil Kerr, his brother, who owned the hardware store. Jack and Neil lived together in that house. It was formerly the hotel, the Arlington Hotel. They were, in fact, wait for it, bachelor brothers. Isn't that the most beautiful picture? If I ever do an album, that's going to be on the cover. That's me and my dog Esther walking down the road in Holmfield. I wrote a poem about that picture. It goes, arcane and hermetic, long concealed, the secret of happiness here revealed, a dog and a well in a septic field. And when the guy comes with the honey truck, he has a sense of humor. Caution, vehicle may be transporting political promises. Every day when I'm in Holmfield, Esther and I walk across this bridge over the long river. You can look through the diamond there. That's the mill you see through there. We walk down to the cemetery where Jack and where Neil are buried. And what I'm doing in Holmfield now is trying to figure out the story of the place. Because, as noted, it's a population of 14. There are no services there. It's so emblematic of what's happening all across this country in small rural places. It's a place that is emptying itself out. There is no reason for anyone to go there except that it's beautiful. But there's no, see, here's Esther and me with a gravestone that says Bill and Esther. Isn't that prophetic? It's a place of high fashion. Oh, there I am again. William J. My middle name is James. I'm practicing, I'm rehearsing, you see. Here I am in a kind of Colville moment. And the thing about a place like Holmfield is you can see what's coming down the road from a long, long way away. So my mission there now is to write about it, to find out the stories of Holmfield, because that's what the place has to offer. There's no economy, there's no industry, there's nothing to support it. There's just a beautiful place in the middle of what everybody would call nowhere that is a place of great intrinsic worth. And for me, deeply urban, going there, it's become the most moving testament to the power of story. And that's what I'm going to do in the world for whatever time is left for me until I'm buried in that place. And I will be. Thanks for listening.